Right, time for the second race for the Pre-94 on the Fords. As you may or may not be able to tell, it's raining. Well, only slightly, but it should add an extra element to the drivers. So now let's head over to Leicester Forbes to take you through the grid for race number 2.
Thanks, Scott. On pole position, it is Ben Tinkler, winner of race number 1. Brian Soule in second place. Ian Wolfenden in third. Nick Barnes in fourth. Ian Houston lines up on the grid in fifth place. In sixth, it's Andrew Kluge. In seventh, Ian Cowley. And we are go! Who's going to get down to Paddock Hill Bend first, and are we all going to get through it? That's the big question. Into turn 1 we come. It is Ben Tinkler who's leading, Brian Soule in second, and off, and into the barriers. That was Ian Houston and Andrew Kluge fighting amongst each other most of the race. Yes, they're both off, they're both out. And I fear we may have a safety car already. Didn't exactly see what happened. Yes, safety car. And that will put pay to the fighting on track. Well done. Nice one, mate, he says. Thanks for taking me out. Well, it looked almost like they spun off in synchronicity. I am probably wrong. Didn't see exactly what we didn't see it, did we? But it'll be interesting to hear maybe what they've got to say at the end of the race. I'm sure, as you saw the body language there, it looked like I think Ian Houston wasn't best pleased, and obviously drivers love to complain quite a lot. In general, not just Ian Houston, but there's always someone to blame for going off. But certainly, as we saw it, it looked like they both had exactly the same incident, side by side. So didn't see who initiated that. Ian Houston was on the inside. Either way, they're both off, they're both out of the race, and there is Ian Cowley still going around at the back of the race. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, body language is yeah, I'm okay, he says. He's recovered back to the paddock. That is the end, rather muddy end to his weekend, goes Andrew Kluge. Same for Ian Houston as well. So we have 5 cars left on track here on this Formula Ford 1600 National Championship race at Brands Hatch for the pre-90 category. Safety car lights are out, and already Ben Tinkler has got away. He's storming away with it. He's sort of caught Brian Soule napping a little bit there. In fact, that's Ian Houston. Ian Wolfenden in second position. As they all stream down into Paddock Hill Bend. Yes, Wolfenden's got ahead in the first corner, first lap melee. But number 17, Brian Soule, is sweeping back past him and retakes second position. Ian Wolfenden down to third as he was, but he's not having any of it. He's feeling a bit feisty in this race. He's going to try and fight back. Nick Barnes a long way back in fourth place. And in fifth place is Ian Cowley, not really able to keep on the same pace as the front 4. Myers Co College car of Ian Wolfenden, father of Jack Wolfenden, racing in the post-89 championship as well. They're both doing pretty well, it must be said, indeed. So out in front, as it was in race number 1, it is, as they kick up the dust and dirt from that incident earlier, it's Ben Tinkler leading from Brian Sewell. There they are, with Ian Wolfenden not far behind in 3rd place. Nick Barnes will be looking to speed through the pack to join them and make more of a fight of it. These are your top 3, 4 now in vision. And Brian Sewell will be, he would have had a couple of hours in between the 1st and 2nd race to contemplate where he could have gone a bit quicker, let's say. And he will surely be employing those tactics here in this 2nd race here at Brands Hatch in the pre-90 category in the Formula Ford 1600 National Championship from the BRSCC. Ben Tinkler out in front, being caught, it seems, from that camera angle, by Brian Sewell. But as someone once said, catching is one thing and passing is another, and he certainly looks very much like he is catching Ben Tinkler. He can't afford to be complacent about it either. Ben out in front with only 4 cars seemingly on the same lap. We're not really expecting Ian Cowley to put up much of a fight, having seemingly an underpowered vehicle, or he's having some sort of obvious technical gremlins with it this weekend, so he's just enjoying his time running around at the back of the pack in 5th place. We won't be seeing much of him in this race, I don't think. He could still win the race depending on what happens here at the front. We've already seen 2 casualties ending up in the barriers at Paddock Hill Bend. Ian Houston and Andrew Kluge taking each other out, it would seem. Ben Tinkler being kept honest by Brian Sewell, with Ian Wolfenden 3rd place, dropping back a bit now into Nick Barnes' clutches. As around they come once again, the final turn through Clark, onto the Brabham Straight to start another lap, and Brian Sewell is definitely catching him at the front. And yes, he's right there with him. What can he do? Will he be able to make a last-minute lunge into Druids? Here we go, this is the fight for the lead, and he is making that lunge, and he is going through. Brian Sewell, brilliant move over Ben Tinkler. Well, it was almost like Tinkler was napping there, because Brian did a magnificent maneuver. Ben fighting back down the inside. Brian won't be having any of it. Still fighting. This is the lead of the race as well, I'll remind you. And Ben Tinkler fighting for the lead of the championship in pre-90 category in this national championship in Formula Ford 1600s from the BRSCC. Ben Tinkler fighting back. Can he regain his 1st place from Brian Sewell, as it's so close to getting over those white lines? All 4 tyres must be on the black stuff. If all 4 tyres are outside of that white line, then you probably will get a slap on the wrist. If you do it enough times, you'll get a 5-second penalty, like what happened in a post-89 race here, and 2 podium position people lost their podiums. So let's just hope this race isn't spoilt by any penalties, let's say. Ben Tinkler doing everything he possibly can do to keep Brian Sewell honest and to keep him within his grasp, and he's got a good draft now. Can he get him down into Paddock Hill Bend as the rain comes down? It's getting slippery and slippery. Sewell still leads. Tinkler in 2nd place. All this great scrapping and action as Tinkler tries to go around the outside of Druids. Won't work, but he tried it anyway. These 2 fighting amongst each other will help Ian Wolfenden close the gap. And I'm sure he will, given half a sniff. He'll be right in there. And watch for Nick Barnes as well. He's not far behind in 4th place. As we approach McLaren turn and oh, he's been hit! He's been hit! Tinkler smashes into Sewell, and Sewell's still going somehow. Wow, that could have been curtains for both of them. But controversially, Ben Tinkler smashes his way into the lead of this race. Wow, Brian Sewell down to second place, Ian Wolfenden in third, Nick Barnes in fourth. I wonder what will come of that, because that was rather feisty, I will say. Well, we've not heard anything about any investigations being looked at, but well, Ben Tinkler out in front for now, I will say, and Brian Sewell. Amazing how his suspension's not ruined from that, because he went right up in the air. He could have even gone over. Good to see him still back on his wheels though, and back going. Meantime, that's done exactly what I said will happen earlier, and given Ian Wolfenden a chance to catch up as well. And Nick Barnes has joined the fight for second position as the rain keeps coming down. It's still spitting heavily as they come down into Paddock Hill Bend. It's Ben Tinkler out in front. Or should we call him Ben Schumacher? Wow, that was just incredible. They could have literally taken each other out. And the fact that they're both still going, seemingly with no obvious signs of damage, just is a testament to how strong and how brilliantly built these cars are to go racing like they do every other weekend. And Ian Wolfenden's trying to make a move around the outside, and he's done it already. Well, has Brian Sewell got a bit of a... has he got a problem with that car? Because that looked easy to me. And Brian Sewell is not one sort of person to make a manoeuvre like that very easily, as everybody laps. Ian Cowley does the courteous thing and doesn't get in anybody's way. So now it's Tinkler who's leading. Ian Wolfenden is second, but is he? Because Sewell's fighting back, and he's back through up at Druids. Wow, it must be getting very, very slippery. The conditions now, and Wolfenden fighting again. And meantime, Nick Barnes has joined the back of this crew. So this is the fight for second place, and Ian Wolfenden is in second place at the moment. Brian Sewell in third place, and Nick Barnes suddenly, from being right far back in fourth place, is staring at a possible podium position. Well, who'd have thought that? Certainly not Nick, I'm sure. No disrespect, Nick, but we did see him. He was, to be fair, he was a long way further back, and if it wasn't for Ben Tinkler smashing into the side of Brian earlier, then this scrap may not be happening right now. But we're glad that it is, and so is Ian Wolfenden, because he is in second position at the moment, with Brian Sewell breathing down his neck. Nick Barnes was keeping a watching brief in fourth place. In fifth place, still Ian Cowley. Go and sideways, nearly losing it there from Ian Wolfenden. It is slippy outside. And you have to hand it to all of these drivers here today in these conditions, and I can tell you that it is not easy racing around in these slippery, damp conditions. Try doing that on almost racing slick tyres. They're not quite these Avons, but well, after you've been racing for already done one race in them, there's not a lot of grip in them, I will say that, and we can see how much grip there isn't because everybody's slipping around. Great for us as spectators, but not so great for the drivers themselves. So Ben Tinkler just squeezing out a bit of a gap now. Brian Sewell in second, it is Ian Wolfenden in second place, Brian Sewell in third, and there's 105 Nick Barnes trying to capitalise on that incident earlier, trying desperately to be in with a shout of a podium. Just have to wait and see what happens. Not long left in this race, a few more laps to go. And there is Ian Wolfenden doing everything he possibly can do to stay in. They are really healthy points-paying positions. Ian's not been on the podium in pre-90 championship that often this season. It might even be his first time. I think it might have been his second time, in fact. And yeah, usually we do see a rather larger grid of cars here. Wow, round he goes, losing it. Wow, Brian Soule pushing and pushing too much. Or was it the weather? I think he'll put that down to the slippery conditions, but he lost it at the same place where he nearly lost the entire race. He is still going though after 2 incidents at that turn. Ben Tinkler still out in front. Ian Wolfenden in second place now, and Nick Barnes in third place. And that's what happens, Nick Barnes, when you keep it together, keep it, I won't say slow and steady, but just keep a consistent race and just mind your own business. Stay out of the trouble from the fighting pair up at the front. So here comes Ben Tinkler then, over the line to start another lap. Ian Wolfenden in second position. Looks like he's catching Ben Tinkler, in fact. Wouldn't surprise me. He looks like a bit of a demon in these conditions, does old Ian Wolfenden. And Nick Barnes not staying too far behind them either. It's really, really slippery and greasy now. There's not much spray coming up. It's not raining that heavy, but it's that fine rain that soaks you through. And when you're on this track with these tyres, racing and doing everything you possibly can do, it's almost as bad as driving on ice, I will tell you that. And you can just start to see that a wet line is starting to, a wet and dry line is starting to emerge, as everybody's just slipping around, doing brilliantly to even keep it on track. This is Nick Barnes squirreling around, trying not to do what Brian Soule did the previous lap and go spinning. Almost tiptoeing around here in this pre-90 race. Yes, definitely more rain on this camera. Slow it down. No dramas into Paddock Hill Bend goes the race leader, Ben Tinkler. From Ian Wolfenden, not far behind him in second place. Then Nick Barnes, and then Brian Soule in fourth place. And still in fifth place at the moment, Ian Cowley, still keeping it together, doing brilliantly to stay on track in fifth place. And he'll be just hoping and praying for the end of this race, which is very, very soon. I can tell you, Ben Tinkler will be understandably looking a little bit sheepish when he gets out of the car, because guess who wants to have a chat with him? Brian Soule. Yes, after that manoeuvre, I'm sure Brian will be rightly feeling aggrieved, but no penalties distributed as Ben Tinkler comes over the line to start his victory lap. Well done to Ben Tinkler, race winner again in pre-19, the Formula Ford 1600 Championship. Ian Wolfenden finishes in second, Nick Barnes in third, Brian Soule in fourth, Ian Cowley rounding out the top five. Ian Houston and Andrew Kluge went off at the first turn. Well, let's go over to the podium and find out what Scott Woodwiss had to say to the podium finishers.
Ben, 2 from 2 for you. Brilliant race up there, but you almost lost it at the end.
Yeah, it was getting, like Ian and Nick were saying, it's surprising how slippery it got very quickly towards the end. And trouble is going in first to some of the corners, you haven't got anything to gauge your pace off of. So yeah, it's getting a bit interesting.
Of course, 2 wins this weekend, very strong for your pre-90 chances.
Yeah, it's good. It's sort of maximum that we could have hoped for, so it's a perfect weekend. It's good.
Well done, Ben. Excellent job. Ian, second place for you. Oh, it's an improvement from yesterday as well, so great job on that one. You've had 2 podiums and a smile to come away with.
Definitely a smile, yeah, definitely a smile. It was tough going. I think me and Brian had some real dueling there, and probably pushed it a little bit too far, but that's racing, I'm afraid.
How did you cope with the conditions at the end?
Just as Ben was saying there, it was really, it just came on all at once, and it was quite hair-raising, yeah.
Well, you survived and got second place, so well done, excellent. Just quickly to have a word with Nick as well. Nick, third place for you, trophy to take away and some valuable points too.
Yeah, I mean we hadn't tested it at Brands before, so straight into racing and qualifying, so really happy with the result.
More the same next time?
Hopefully, is it Donington next time?
I believe so.
Yeah, hopefully it will be.